Howdy YouTube and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today I'm going to be answering a bit of a fan's question. So I was contacted by this 19-year-old's girlfriend on Twitter, and she said I'd like you to do something, or because my boyfriend is a big fan of your work, like can you send a gift out or something with your signature on it? And then we ended up deciding that just making a video dedicated to him would probably be the best way around it. Easier for me, no money has to change hands or anything, or no items, no shipping costs or anything. And he gets a video dedicated to him. So it's actually a topic that I've been meaning to touch on for a little while. Like, I do get some people asking the question, like, if you could do a video about owning your own business versus being an employee. Now, this is all off the top of the head, so I'm going to do my best to touch all the most important things. But if I do miss anything, be sure to let us know in the comment down below. Obviously, I can only go off my personal experience. I do know the industry here in Australia is a little bit different than the US and the UK. I do know that in the US and the UK, big businesses just swooped in and pretty much made a bit of a mess out of this industry, unfortunately. And I do know a lot of people who have sort of lost a passion for the trade because of that, just because absolutely screwing prices down on everything and wages and all that, and just speeding up the process so fast that you can no longer even take pride in the work that you do, because you're just forced to do the work so quickly to a low quality standard. All of that aside, we'll get into the video. So it was back in 2016 I did actually go out and start my own business. Now, I was quite skeptical on it. I didn't even really want to do it at the start, to be honest. The deciding point for me was that my YouTube content, like the videos on my YouTube channel, were getting a bit same. And if they're getting a bit same now, I make no apologies for it. I've got a job where I want to work. I'm happy where I work. That's it. If you get bored of watching my videos, well then, I'm sorry, that's all you're going to get. For now, like, there will be a day when I will get right ahead in life, own a couple of homes, and be able to slow down and have my own little hobby workshop or something. But for now, I'm probably better off earning a solid guaranteed paycheck at the end of each week, which is one of the points I should be touching on when you're out on your own. So you've got to take into consideration all the extra things that are going to be expenses, so you've got your rent, you've got your power, you've got all the bills, all the paint material costs, you've got your insurances, and I'm sure there's a few things I've missed, but there's a lot to take into account. So when quoting, you want to just figure out a price per panel that you can make a profit on. I found for me, the first panel, if it was just one panel, it was $400. I know that sounds expensive, and when you get to multiple panels, you could drop that price down, because there's certain things in the procedure of painting that need to be done whether or not you're painting one panel or 10 panels. So you need to mix the color up. You need to match the color. You need to mask that car up. You need to spray the paint on there. So that procedure, while yes, sure, you're only going to have to color match the color once, obviously. So just because you're painting two panels, that doesn't mean you have to color match that color twice. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's part of that procedure just has to be done no matter how many panels you're doing. And you're already in the booth, you've already got the orbital sanders in the hand. So doing that extra panel isn't necessarily like a great big of a deal compared to, because you're already there. So my first panel was always 300, and if it was more than one panel, it was first panel was 400. More than one panel was always $300. So if you want me to paint your door and your fender, that would be a $600 job. Any excessive repairs, they're on top. So that's just to paint. If you had two panels, you wanted me to sand them and paint them, that'd be $600. Would remove and refit, it would be included in that. Repairs are on top. Any sort of major repairs, you'd obviously just do like a couple of small dents or something like that. But if they're big repairs, that's all on top. So what else should I touch on to? Look, at the end of the day, it just comes down to the pros and the cons. You've got to weigh up the pros versus the cons. Like, obviously, the pros are that you've got more freedom. You know, you can wake up at midday if you like. You can sleep in. You can not go there on Friday and have no ramifications. I guess technically you can do that when you're an employee as well. But look, that's another plus side of being an employee. You will get your sick pay, your holiday pay, depending on what kind of agreement you've got with your boss. But if you're a full-time employee here in Australia, you will have sick pay, holiday pay, all those kinds of things. When you're working for yourself, you won't have any of those things, obviously. You'll have to take all those things into account when you're quoting each job, you know. So you're going to have to say, well, I need I need that 2 or 3 weeks off at Christmas time. I'm going to have to fund that. And the workshop's not going to... I'll still have to pay my rent during that time, you know. You have to pay your rent at home, you have to pay your rent at work as well, or your bills and that. So, yeah, look, I was there for 1 year, and I loved it at the start. Towards the last month, I knew I was leaving anyway, so I was just over it pretty much. Look, if I had my time again, I would do it all again, and I would still leave again, you know. I'm glad I started, but I'm glad I left. I just find being an employee is easier and more stress-free. However, I was thinking about it, and like if I was living in the UK or the USA, where, mate, I don't know how good the wages are over there, but over here in Australia, if you're like a highly skilled tradesman and you're fast at doing the jobs, which I am, and you can do good quality work, then you can make good money over here. So, you know, I don't need to be out in my own shop to be able to make decent money. And yeah, as I say, like I go home now as I'm an employee. I go home, I switch off. I don't think about work until I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I've got to go to work. So yeah, when you working for for yourself, when you're an owner of the business, you'll get people calling you up at all hours. You can't switch off, you know. Like, you go home and you're thinking, oh geez, are we gonna get that colour in for the morning because that owner needs that car, you know. Where I am now, if we don't have the tinter to paint a certain job, I'm not going to stress if the customer doesn't get their job back. Well, I will stress, but just during that 8 hour block of time that I'm now, always do my best to get all the cars done that are on our list. We get like a workflow list every day, and I always do my best to get those cars out. But if they don't, and it's out of my hands, there's not much more I can do. You know, I don't have to worry about that customer calling me up and abusing me because they are going overseas and they need their car back before they go, or whatever it be. That's probably the main thing for me. It's just not having to stress out about things. I guess I was a little bit of a stress head when I was in business. And even just things like taxes. If you know, you can do a few cash jobs, that's great. But I was constantly a bit paranoid that, you know, if I do a cash job here and don't declare it, the tax man's going to get onto you and ruin your business, basically. They'll hit you up for, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. So I just got over it, you know. Where I'm working now, it's all money through the books, taxes all paid. I don't have to worry about any of that. Less stress. I get to go to work. I do my 38-hour week. I don't work on Saturdays anymore. I've told the boss, I said I'm not interested in working on Saturdays anymore. I get my Saturday and Sunday off to stay at home and spend with my family. And yeah, I'm happier being an employee these days. As I said, one day I think that will change. Like in the future, once I've paid off a home, I would like to go back up country, you know, get a small workshop or something like that, bit of a hobby shop, you know, get to do some custom work, things like, on the other side, like these Nintendo 64 controllers and the Nintendo 64 itself, which is just over there too. You know, and then just do some small jobs to just sort of put along and cover costs and my living costs, and you don't have to be stressing out about doing, you know, 10, 15 jobs a week, you know. But yeah, that's my little rant on owning your own business versus being an employee. One thing that this guy did say, he said, his missus said that he's like 19 and he started at a body shop and just didn't like it. Like they were just wearing him down, working him too hard, or whatever it be, just treating him like a number or something like that. Look, one part of concern that I would have is that at the age of 19, I know I was like that. You think you know everything, and then you get out into the real world and you realize that you don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm 35 years old now, and I realize that I don't know everything, you know what I mean? But at the age of like 19, 20, you know a little bit. It's like that little bit of knowledge is more dangerous than a lot, you know what I mean? So, because you just think that you know everything. But at the end of the day, man, I think that this specific guy said that he's dad maybe have a workshop or something like that, and he might be able to run the business out of that workshop. If you can do that, go for it. Absolutely go for it, because you got little overheads. Your dad's probably paying for the bills and the rent and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to do something like that, I would say absolutely go for it. But if you were just 19 years old, anyone out there that's like in their late teens, and looking at starting up a business, I would not do it alone, for one, and probably not do it full stop, because you just don't know enough about the trade itself, let alone business, and how to run a business successfully and how to deal with customers and all that. One of our mottos in business was a happy customer tells 2 people and an unhappy customer tells 10. So, you know, you'd rather the happy customer tell 2 people, one of those people might come and give you some more work, than an unhappy customer going around telling 10 people, and then those 10 people might go and tell more people, and then next thing you know, you've got a bad reputation in the industry, and people say, nah, I wouldn't go there, they don't do good work. So yeah, just keep that quality up to the highest standard as you can. One thing I found that when I was in business is that because we were small and starting out, we had to take on some work that other people wouldn't want to take on. So your restoration work and stuff like that. And yeah, those kind of jobs, they take quite some time to do, in excess of a month, and that's quick. If you can get a resto job done in a month, you're doing pretty well. So sometimes you can be without a paycheck for quite some time, but then it'll all come in. You'll get like 3 or 4 big jobs go out, and you'll have money come in. So be smart with that money when you do get it in. Save it, plan ahead. And one other bit of advice I can give is have everything in writing, everything about every job. We didn't do that at the start. We had someone kind of screw us over with a job. We sat down in the office with him, we agreed on a price, and it was an hourly rate. That's actually what I found is the best. Figure out what hourly rate you want to be on, unless it's like smash work or something like that. You know your trade well enough to say that I know that I can paint that panel in X amount of hours. I know that I can get that job done, so quick. But on those restoration jobs, if you can, even lower your hourly rate. Get it down to even $40 an hour, because some of those jobs, those restoration jobs, you'd quote $10,000 to $15,000, and if you actually figured your hourly rate out, you'd be on $20 an hour, and it barely even covering costs, let alone actually making some money for yourself. But they did actually work out okay for us, because they'd sort of be your bread and butter. That would sort of like all your resto jobs, they'd pay for your expenses, and then you get some smaller jobs coming in, and they would be what you'd actually make your profit off of. So yeah, like you got to think of what kind of work are you going to do, you know? Are you going to do that restoration work? And at the age of 19, I highly doubt you're going to have the skills and knowledge to take on those kind of jobs. And even if you do, if you're on your own, you wouldn't be able to do all the work yourself. Who's going to do all the removing and refitting of the parts? Sometimes it's a 2-man job. If you're in there with your father, he might be happy to give you a hand here and there. But I'm sure when you get like a 30, 40-year-old car in, he's not going to be helping on everything. But yes, get it all in writing. And there was even sometimes we had jobs in, if I didn't get a confirmation in writing, even if it's just an email, like have a paper trail, that if shit hits the fan later on and things go sour, you can say, look at that email. I wrote out everything that we said that we were going to do. I told you that this was a quote just for the paintwork, for instance, you know. If we encounter any more damage underneath or excessive rust, it's going to be more. And then I would recommend, especially on those bigger jobs, if you are to take on those resto jobs, do 2 weeks worth of work, get payment for it, and don't continue working on that car until you've got payment for it. Get the owner to come in, say, look, I've done X amount of hours of work on your car, and I will not continue to work until you've paid me. Because you could get yourself into a lot of trouble if the owner decides, well, you know what, I'm not happy with that anymore. I don't think you've done all the work. Document it, get photos, just to prove that you have done it, or if there is extra work and stuff like that. Yeah, good luck with it, man. I think I've covered everything. This is just my Sunday morning, so I don't really, these days I just enjoy relaxing a bit more. So I hope you guys do enjoy and appreciate this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.